Next, we will begin the plot summary for episode 56. Before we begin, please help by leaving a like. The young ancestral master praises Qin Mu's teaching and innovation. Believing that passing the Great Heavenly Devil Sutra to Qin Mu, he laments that the previous sect leader never developed so many applications for the techniques. He praises Qin Mu's aptitude. Afterwards, Qin Mu follows the ancestral master. Along the way, he sees more Heavenly Devil cult disciples using spades to dig, plow the fields, and pick fruit, but most of them are not proficient in their techniques. They haven't learned them completely. Qin Mu does not stop to teach them, because there are too many disciples, making it difficult to instruct them one by one. The young ancestral master asks Qin Mu for his thoughts on the current situation of having so many Heavenly Devil cult disciples in Yang Prefecture. What are his views? Qin Mu believes the sacred sect should establish primary schools, universities, and an imperial college, so that the disciples do not fall behind the times. The ancestral master reminds him that this is the sect leader's duty, and Qin Mu must shoulder this responsibility. Qin Mu ponders the future development of the sacred sect, proposing to select outstanding disciples and send them to the imperial college for advanced studies, thereby enhancing the sacred sect's power. The ancestral master sighs. If Qin Mu had been born 40 years earlier, the sacred sect would surely be more prosperous. Arriving at Yang Prefecture City, Qin Mu is rather puzzled that the Heavenly Sacred Cult's headquarters is located within the city. The ancestral master leads the way into the city lord's manor. Inside the manor, the upper echelons of the Heavenly Devil cult have gathered. After everyone pays their respects, an elder of the cult reports that the sect leader's wife, the saintess, and the former Heavenly King have not yet arrived. The ancestral master decides to wait for a while. Before long, Granny C appears, her voice sweet and alluring. Hearing her, everyone's minds begin to wander. The young ancestral master scolds Granny C for her lack of decorum, demanding that she conceal her true appearance, to prevent the grand hall from descending into chaos. Granny C is displeased, but ultimately follows the ancestral master's arrangement. Qin Mu exchanges pleasantries with Granny C. Granny C denies ever having been to the Imperial College, claiming she only observed Qin Mu from a distance. Qin Mu laughs and says, "Granny, still pretending, I've already seen through you. You are the C in the Imperial College." Suddenly, a clear voice announces, "The saintess has arrived." Just as Qin Mu is about to say Si Yangxiang's name, he suddenly sees Si Yangxiang from outside the door. "Walk in." Granny C's voice whispers in his ear. The saintess and the sect leader are classmates, you know. They both entered the Imperial College at the same time. Qin Mu is stunned. His gaze shifts between Si Yangxiang and the Granny C beside him, his mind in turmoil. He had always thought that Granny C was Si Yangxiang, but he never expected that now a contemporary saintess of the Heavenly Devil cult would appear, also named Si Yangxiang, because of his preconceived notions. He had tested this saintess many times, even deliberately flirting with her, to observe her reaction. However, it wasn't until Si Yangxiang tested him last time that he confirmed Granny C was Si Yangxiang. But now, everything has become even more confusing. A white-haired elder of the Heavenly Devil cult remarks with emotion, "This generation's saintess is much safer than the last one. The previous saintess was a real menace." Hearing this, Granny C glares at him furiously, but the elder pretends not to see. Si Yangxiang steps forward, greets Qin Mu, and introduces herself as the saintess. Si Yangxiang. Qin Mu hurriedly returns the courtesy, addressing her as junior sister. The surrounding elders are filled with emotion. One mentions that the previous saintess actually killed the sacred sect leader. Granny C flies into a rage, shouting at him to shut up. Qin Mu, meanwhile, observes secretly. He understands in his heart that Si Yangxiang is not as meek and shy as she appears on the surface, but rather a deep thinker. After defeating the son of Buddha, she still wanted to test Qin Mu, which clearly means she already knew his identity. Yet she still tried to gauge his true capabilities. Granny C then mentions that Si Yangxiang is from the Si family, and was personally taught by the ancestral master. The ancestral master even remarked that if he had met Si Yangxiang earlier, he might not have chosen Qin Mu as the young sect leader. Qin Mu and Si Yangxiang's eyes meet. In her gentle gaze, he sees a hint of defiance. Qin Mu smiles faintly, speculating in his mind that Si Yangxiang was groomed by the ancestral master to be the next sect leader. She took the Imperial College entrance exams in the same year as him, perhaps to compare their abilities. However, Qin Mu's performance in the exams was too dazzling. He fought his way past Taoist Ling Yun all the way to the emperor. No matter how hard Si Yangxiang tried, she could not surpass him. After the grand examination, The young ancestral master ultimately chose Qin Mu as the sacred sect leader. This left Si Yangxiang feeling resentful. Her coming to test him after defeating the son of Buddha was clearly an attempt to prove herself. The young ancestral master suddenly looks around and asks if the former heavenly king has arrived. Learning that the former heavenly king is not present, his expression turns grave. He speculates that the former heavenly king may have encountered a major mishap. The young ancestral master instructs Qin Mu in a low voice. In the future, you must treat the former heavenly king's descendants well. He then orders the 360 halls to unfurl their banners. Let the sacred spirit mountain manifest. As the great banners unfurl, the city lord's manor in Young Prefecture City vanishes in an instant. The crowd finds themselves in an ethereal world. The sacred spirit mountain. On the sacred spirit mountain, the hills are lush and green. Below their feet, on all sides, there is no sky above, and no ground below. It is like a paradise on earth. The young ancestral master leads everyone to a spot beneath an ancient pine tree, and recounts the founding history of the heavenly sacred cult. The founding ancestral master once saw a woodcutter chopping wood. The woodcutter's movements contained infinite mystery. The pine tree he chopped would instantly recover. The founding ancestral master asked the woodcutter for guidance. The woodcutter taught him for several decades, proposing the three immortalities, establishing virtue, establishing merit, and establishing words, as well as the three enlightenments of a teacher of 10,000 people: understanding principles, understanding knowledge, and understanding teachings. The founding ancestral master thus achieved great enlightenment and established the heavenly sacred cult. He passed down the Great Heavenly Devil Sutra, fulfilling the goals of understanding principles and understanding knowledge, but he failed to establish merit and become a sage. The young ancestral master narrates the teachings eloquently. Everyone listens with solemn respect. He asks Qin Mu if he is willing to inherit the founding ancestral master's virtue and words. Qin Mu solemnly promises. The young ancestral master has Qin Mu sit on the sage's stone, declaring him the sacred sect leader, and also the sacred teacher of the heavenly sacred cult. The hall masters of the 360 halls, the guardian elders, the inspector envoys, the heavenly kings, and all the disciples bow and pay homage to Qin Mu. Then, the young ancestral master calls out to Granny Si, demanding that she transmit the heavenly sacred cult's techniques. Granny Si's body trembles slightly, and a coarse, vast, and ancient voice comes from her mouth. It is clearly the voice of the previous sect leader, Li Tianqing. It turns out that after being ambushed by Granny Si, Li Tianqing transformed himself into her inner demon, waiting for an opportunity to reappear. Li Tianqing places his palm on Qin Mu's forehead, transmitting the core scriptures of the heavenly sacred cult into his mind. These sounds are complex and diverse, as if gods, Buddhas, and demons are all preaching at the same time. It left Qin Mu utterly stunned. He realizes that this voice is the very voice of the sage. The voice of the sage as he imparted the Great Dao. What Li Tianqing transmitted to him were the scriptures spoken by the woodcutter when he taught the founding ancestral master. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Preceptor's manor in the capital city, Duobayan hurriedly reports, Imperial Preceptor, there's been a strange disturbance in Young Prefecture City. The upper echelons of the Heavenly Devil cult have gathered there, with countless experts. The city lord's manor vanished into thin air, leaving only an empty plot of land. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor remains unfazed, merely replying faintly, I know. The word Duobayan reminds him, the Heavenly Devil cult is the #1 demonic sect. We must not let this go unguarded. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor looks up and asks calmly, do you know who the ancestral master of the Heavenly Devil cult is? Duobayan shakes his head. The Imperial Preceptor sighs. He was once the Grand Libationer of the Imperial College. Duobayan is shocked speechless. The ancestral master of the Heavenly Devil cult was at the Imperial College for many years, teaching countless officials and generals. Could it be that he intends to rebel? The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor shakes his head and smiles. You're overthinking it. He taught the Crown Prince. If the Crown Prince became a member of the Heavenly Devil cult, and if that were truly the case, wouldn't even I be arrested? He then recalls traveling the world in his youth, learning the strengths of various sects, and the time he met the Heavenly Devil Ancestral Master. The Heavenly Devil Ancestral Master set aside sectarian prejudices, and taught him with all his heart. He even recommended him to go to the Taoist sect and the Great Thunderclap Monastery, to comprehend the Taoist arts and Buddhist scriptures. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor says with emotion, he is the most broad-minded and purest person I have ever met. That is why I invited him to take charge of the Imperial College. His departure is merely to handle matters concerning the Heavenly Devil cult's new sect leader. That is all. Hearing that the Heavenly Devil cult has been without a leader for more than 40 years, and that a new one has now been chosen. Zhuo Baiyan is deeply worried. He suggests reporting this to the emperor. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor says calmly, "You go write the memorial? But as for the ancestral master's origins, do not say too much." Zhuo Baiyan accepts the order. He then mentions that the emperor has ordered Gu Linyuan to be the new Grand Libationer. The Imperial Preceptor is non-committal about this, saying only, "The emperor is worried my influence is growing too large. I cannot say much on this matter." When Zhuo Baiyan asks how to deal with the new Heavenly Devil Cult sect leader, the Preceptor's tone is calm. "Those who follow will prosper. Those who resist shall perish. I will go see him myself." Meanwhile, at the Taoist X Dao Mountain, Dan Yangzi reports to the Dao Master. Experts from the Heavenly Devil Cult gathered in Yang Prefecture City. The manor, along with the great banners, has disappeared. The Dao Master opens his eyes and says in a deep voice, "It seems the Heavenly Devil Cult's new sect leader has emerged. This sect fabricates history and uses the name of a sage to bring chaos to the world. The new sect leader is likely no blessing for the common people. We must ascertain his identity and eliminate him when the opportunity arises." Dan Yangzi accepts the order and mentions, "The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor uses the Heavenly Devil Cult's teachings as his guiding principle to govern the Eternal Peace Empire." The Dao Master says coldly, "Although the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor is ambitious, he will eventually hit a wall and be crushed to pieces." At the Great Thunderclap Monastery, an old monk reports the Heavenly Devil Cult's activities to the Rulai. He mentions that the Yang Prefecture Manor was full of the Heavenly Devil Cult's elders, and someone witnessed that the woman who defeated the son of Buddha is connected to the Heavenly Devil Cult. The Rulai is surprised. "Isn't she a scholar of the Imperial College?" The old monk explains, "This woman's name is Si Yangxiang, and she has just entered the Imperial College, and she is of the same clan as the former cult master's wife, Si Yo Ayu." Rulai speculates that the new cult master might come from the Si clan, and orders everyone to investigate on their own. On Sacred Spirit Mountain, a mysterious voice echoes in Qin Mu's ears. It's as if he has been transported 100 years into the past. He sees a man named Xiaofu, helpless. Fu Heng is incomparably profound, yet the wounds heal in an instant. Xiao asks him, "Passerby, you have watched for 100 years. What have you seen?" Qin Mu, enlightened, asks Xiaofu for guidance. Xiao sits under a pine tree, imparting his teachings. Qin Mu was completely mesmerized. He comprehends the Grand Unification Technique of the great educational Heavenly Devil Scripture. The empowerment ceremony ends. Qin Mu returns to reality. Only then does he understand that this was an inheritance ceremony. The founding master of the Heavenly Devil Cult, his experiences were infused into him, passing the torch to the next generation. But the Grand Unification Technique was not fully formed. It requires each generation of cult masters to comprehend it for themselves. The technique comprehended by each cult master is different. This truly embodies the essence of imparting knowledge and teaching. Qin Mu exclaims that this is such a scam. The legendary Grand Unification Technique can't even be used directly. He still has to comprehend it himself. The young founding master heaves a sigh. He looks towards Granny C. The voice of Cult Master Li comes from Granny C's mouth. "Teacher, I am no longer the sacred cult master. This is my chance to overcome my inner demon. Please, teacher, do not stop me." The young founding master's gaze is profound. He calmly says to Li Tianqing, "You have turned yourself into an inner demon and planted yourself in her Dao heart. If she refines you, you will only be paving the way for her success." The voice of Ni Tianqing was heard unexpectedly. "Whether she refines me, or I possess her, one of us will ultimately achieve greatness," he says candidly. "This is my choice. When I decided to marry her, I knew deep down that she was my inner demon. She had to be eliminated. Only by eliminating her could I wholeheartedly pursue the Dao and advance further. I ask for teacher's blessing to proceed." Upon hearing this, Qin Mu is shocked. He thinks about the young founding master. He had known all along that a powerful inner demon was hidden within Granny C. Even the Virakakara of the Great Thunderclap Monastery could not refine it? Now he understands. This inner demon is none other than the former cult master, Li Tianqing. Granny C killed Li Tianqing, but Li Tianqing turned into an inner demon and took root in her Dao heart. The two of them are fighting for control of one body. Qin Mu is inclined to help Granny C refine Li Tianqing, but the young founding master is clearly neutral. He believes that no matter the outcome, it is a good thing for the heavenly sacred cult. Therefore, there is no need to intervene. Not long after, Granny C returns to normal, still smiling serenely, as if nothing had happened. But Qin Mu can see that the Hall Masters and elders of the Heavenly Devil cult are not friendly towards Granny C. Perhaps it's because she killed Li Tianqing, which led to the Heavenly Sacred Cult being without a leader for more than 40 years, causing it to miss many opportunities. Granny C attended the Sacred Cult Master's enthronement ceremony this time, mainly to protect Qin Mu from being bullied by the cult members. She wasn't concerned about the transmission of the Grand Unification Technique. The only one she cares about is Qin Mu. The young founding master sighs with emotion. A beautiful woman is a source of trouble. This describes a woman like Granny C perfectly. She is too beautiful. Even if she does no evil, the world will commit evil because of her. He believes that such a beauty cannot be accepted by the mundane world. To survive, Granny C can only hide her true appearance. She can't even reveal her voice. After the ceremony, the young founding master takes Qin Mu for a walk on Sacred Spirit Mountain, introducing the various sites. At the same time, he recounts the history of the Heavenly Sacred Cult. He explains why the Heavenly Sacred Cult's leader's ascension is called an enthronement. Because when our cult was at its most glorious, we ruled over 6 nations, and the emperors of all 6 nations were our subjects. The cult master was on par with the emperors. To say enthronement was already giving the emperor's face. Afterwards, the young founding master leads Qin Mu into an ordinary grand hall. He teaches him how to comprehend the teleportation technique, and he advises him. The grand halls of the sacred cult all have techniques carved into them. The real skill is in being able to teach them to others. The contents of the great educational Heavenly Devil scripture can also be taught. How much a disciple can comprehend depends entirely on their own fortune. He also instructs Qin Mu, as the cult master, you must grasp the big picture. Delegate tasks to your subordinates. You cannot handle every single matter personally, lest it delay your own cultivation. When the young founding master asks Qin Mu what his first act will be after taking office, when it came to the first matter, Qin Mu replies that he will establish a school. He will create the 361st hall to teach the path of cultivation. The young founding master agrees with this idea and reminds him to learn to delegate, entrusting matters to the protectors and hall masters. The young founding master, about to leave, he instructs Qin Mu, do not casually destroy the ancient sites on Sacred Spirit Mountain. Finally, he says, this parting will be our last. Qin Mu insists on seeing him off. The two of them walk together to the foot of the mountain. In the end, the young founding master leaps into the air and disappears into the horizon. The 99 eye-opening boosts lent their aid, watching the young old man depart, knowing in his heart that he would never see him again. On Sacred Spirit Mountain, the masters of the 360 halls leave one after another. Qin Mu returns to the spot under the pine tree. He discusses the matter of the school with the cult protecting elders. He decides to teach all the techniques from the great educational Heavenly Devil scripture, and he will establish the Heavenly Road Pavilion to collect the scriptures of various sects for the disciples to read. The left and right protectors acknowledge the order and depart. Teleporting away from Sacred Spirit Mountain, Qin Mu marvels at the wondrous teleportation technique of the Heavenly Sacred Cult. He then takes Hu Linger to the Grand Hall and begins to comprehend the teleportation technique. As the Sacred Cult Master, he must learn to leave Sacred Spirit Mountain on his own. He cannot rely on others. In the disabled elderly village of the Great Ruins, the village chief and the apothecary, as usual, are slumped in their lounge chairs at the village entrance, leisurely sipping tea. The apothecary suddenly turns and says, Village chief, you've been paralyzed here for several days, haven't you? You didn't even go back inside to sleep when the darkness fell. When I got up this morning, I saw you were still here. The village chief squints his eyes lazily and replies, Apothecary, your heart is in turmoil. You've been like this ever since Moore left. The apothecary scoffs in rebuttal. My heart is in turmoil. Clearly, you're the one who's a mess. Look at me. I'm washed and combed every day. Now look at you, disheveled and grimy. You look like you're about to die in that lounge chair. The village chief says unhurriedly, You're the one who moved me to the village entrance yesterday morning, but you forgot to take me back inside at night. If that's not your heart being in turmoil, what is? The apothecary retorts angrily, I forgot to take you back inside. Can't you move on your own? What's the use of your heaven-shaking cultivation? The village chief is silent for a moment, then replies sorrowfully, You know I have no legs, and no hands. The apothecary is exasperated. He grumbles to himself. This old coot can actually survive the darkness unharmed, and he has the gall to bring up his own crippled body. Just as the apothecary is about to argue further, he suddenly looks up. The village chief instantly perks up, and says with a smile, To have friends come from afar, is it not a delight? Fellow Taoist, you travel light, only to see one old and one young person emerge from walking from downstream of the surging river, approaching the village. The village chief hurriedly urges the apothecary, "Where's your comb? Don't hide it. I know you have one on you. Take it out. I haven't washed up in 2 days. How can I meet guests like this?" If he remained motionless with a cold smile, the village chief says, with an apologetic smile, "It's my fault. I was too lazy to move. My mistake." The apothecary finally hands the comb to the village chief. The village chief uses his vital cha to guide the comb and tidy his hair. The young founding master and the law-enforcing elder arrive at the village entrance. They stop and bow in greeting. The village chief smiles and says, "A cripple like me cannot return the courtesy. Please forgive me, fellow Taoist. Please, have a seat. Apothecary, serve some tea." The young founding master says humbly, "I am no longer the sacred cult's founding master. There's no need for such formalities. Law-enforcing elder, you should sit as well." The law-enforcing elder sets down his bamboo basket. The apothecary boils water and brews tea. The young founding master smiles and says, "The southern way of drinking tea." The apothecary explains that he was born in the south, so he is used to this way. The young founding master expresses his wish to stay in the village for a few days. The apothecary readily agrees. The village chief also welcomes them. The young founding master then brings up the sacred cult master, Qin Mu. He is a natural-born overlord body, and cultivates the overlord body 3 elixir technique. His strength is extraordinary. Therefore, I have come to ask the village chief about the history of the overlord body. The village chief and the apothecary exchange a glance, and suddenly burst out laughing. The two of them are rolling on the ground with laughter, unable to catch their breath. The law-enforcing elder is bewildered, and secretly worries about himself, wondering if he'll be influenced by these 2 crazy old men. The village chief calms down a bit, and explains, the overlord body is actually just an ordinary person's body, and the overlord body 3 elixir technique is just an ordinary guiding technique. Hearing the truth, the young founding master and the law-enforcing elder are utterly shocked. Qin Mu had actually cultivated a guiding technique with a mortal body, all the while firmly believing he was an overlord body. In the end, he defeated all sorts of geniuses with a mortal body, becoming a true overlord body in every sense. The village chief and the apothecary are immensely proud. The village chief whispers to the apothecary, "See, their expressions are exactly as I imagined." Although the young founding master is shocked, he also admits that the overlord body 3 elixir technique is extraordinary. The village chief speculates, this technique might be a relic from before the Great Ruins became the Great Ruins. Continuation of previous line. The young founding master further suggests, perhaps ordinary people could cultivate this technique before the cataclysm of the Great Ruins. But afterwards, ordinary people could no longer cultivate it, and spirit bodies became the mainstream. The apothecary wonders why Qin Mu is able to cultivate it. The village chief speculates, perhaps Qin Mu is an ordinary person from before the cataclysm, from Carefree Village. The 3 of them look at each other, agreeing with this speculation. The young founding master asks for the location of Carefree Village. The village chief smiles and says, "I don't know, but tonight, we can leave the village to search for it." The young founding master looks into the depths of the Great Ruins. His heart is filled with both nervousness and anticipation. He feels his long-dormant spirit of adventure rekindling. Meanwhile, Qin Mu of Sacred Spirit Mountain, focused on studying the teleportation gate on the wall, he discovered that this technique had to be refined into a treasure to be used. While casting the divine art directly was more flexible, but it required advanced mathematical art calculations. He pondered in his heart, deciding to seek more advanced texts on the mathematical arts to break through his current limitations. The teleportation divine art is a profound ability constructed from complex mathematical arts. Its core lies in calculating the arrangement, sequence, and rules of the runes, the direction of teleportation, the location's distance, and the difference in space. All require completely different calculations. Every time a teleportation point is determined, it requires a massive amount of calculation. The so-called calculation operation refers to the sequential evolution of the runic formations, their changes and patterns, while calculation is the deduction based on these patterns. The abacus, as the most basic computational tool, its movement of upper and lower beads, is the simplest sequence of a formation. Refining the teleportation divine art into a treasure relies on the changes in runes and formations to drive it. The calculation is countless times more complex than an abacus. It can be seen as a large, three-dimensional, heterogeneous abacus. If one wishes to cast the teleportation divine art independently, one must possess the ability to adjust the algorithm at any time, finding the secrets of teleportation from within the chaotic runes. but the existing practical calculation manuals in Jinping. For Qin Mu could not deduce such a complex computational formula. He realized tomes of more profound arts were needed. Perhaps the Grand Academies, Zhenyuan Hall, or the Taoist calculation manuals could provide help. Qin Mu recalled the Taoist Tao child, Lin Zhuan, when he was casting reversing yin and yang within the two polarities, displayed extremely complex mathematical art calculation techniques. Without powerful computational abilities, it would be impossible to quickly calculate the changes in moves and accurately find the opponent's weakness. Qin Mu understood that he currently only knew the what, but not the why. Therefore, he decided to first refine a teleportation treasure, such as a teleportation flag or a teleportation robe. Due to a lack of materials, Qin Mu could only use his own 6-foot golden silkworm brocade rope to refine it. He drew golden silkworm threads from the robe to weave the formation patterns, and used his vital energy to brand the runes. And, thanks to learning arts and embroidery with Granny C in his childhood, this was not difficult for him. At the same time, on Sacred Spirit Mountain, the three great heavenly kings of the sect, Heavenly King Lu, Heavenly King Yu, and Heavenly King Shai were observing Qin Mu's progress. The teleportation divine art is extremely difficult to master. The requirements for the techniques were exceedingly high. Qin Mu was still young, and his attainments in the mathematical arts were limited. He would likely not succeed. They believed that the patriarch had Qin Mu stay here to comprehend the teleportation divine art, to temper his character, to make him experience setbacks, and learn to advance in the face of difficulty. The three heavenly kings decided to watch for the time being. When Qin Mu was unable to leave Sacred Spirit Mountain, they would then give him a teleportation flag to help him leave. But events developed unexpectedly. Qin Mu actually managed to refine a teleportation robe. Although his control was still clumsy, he had already begun to try using it. During his first experiment, his teleportation failed, and he crashed and collapsed one half of the Phoenix Forest Pavilion. The Phoenix Forest Pavilion was the place where the 6th-generation cult master received phoenixes. It symbolized the glory of the heavenly saint cult. The three heavenly kings were utterly shocked at the sight. They decided to repair the Phoenix Forest Pavilion and forge the biography of the 6th-generation cult master to prevent the sect's disciples from noticing. However, Qin Mu's disaster did not end there. Not long after, he failed to teleport again and smashed the Hall of the Three Kings roof. The Hall of the Three Kings was a sacred place commemorating three former cult masters. It symbolized the history and sacrifices of the heavenly saint cult. The three heavenly kings were greatly annoyed by this. They felt that Qin Mu's actions had gone too far. Qin Mu's teleportation attempts failed one after another, continuously destroying the buildings on Sacred Spirit Mountain. The three heavenly kings tried to intercept him, but missed him every time. He even once teleported into the fish-watching pond, and was nearly attacked by fish dragons. The patriarch had instructed before he left that this young cult master had a peculiar habit. He liked to dismantle things. If they couldn't catch him, they feared the buildings on Sacred Spirit Mountain would not escape this terrible fate. Thank you all for your support. If you enjoyed this, please follow. We'll see you again next week.